Revolution doesn't always begin with muskets and cannons. Sometimes it starts around a table with ideas, debates, and bold declarations. Welcome to the story of the First Continental Congress, the gathering that sent the colonies on a collision course with the British Crown. Welcome to Historical USA. I am your host, historian Lisa Weekland, and here we discover the people, places, and events that made America. In this video, we'll uncover why the First Continental Congress was formed, who spearheaded it, the plans and resolves that it debated, and how this remarkable assembly shaped the dawn of a new nation. To understand why the First Continental Congress was formed, we have to start with the Boston Tea Party and its fiery aftermath. Now, I've done a more in-depth video. If you would like to watch that, you can go and click on that here in the corner, or I will link it down in the description below. But just real quickly, after the colonial protesters dumped that tea into Boston Harbor in December of 1773, understandably, Parliament cracked down with the Intolerable Acts of 1774. Now, these laws were designed to punish Massachusetts and stifle rebellion. They closed Boston's port, restricting town meetings, and allowed British officials to stand trial back in England. But rather than isolating Massachusetts, the Intolerable Acts really united the colonies in shared outrage. Leaders recognized that the threat wasn't just local. It was an existential danger to colonial liberty everywhere. What's the solution? Convening a Continental Assembly to decide together how to respond. And thus, the First Continental Congress was born. The Congress would convene in Philadelphia on September 5th, 1774, bringing together delegates from 12 of the 13 colonies, Georgia being the exception. Spearheading the effort were fiery patriot leaders like Samuel Adams and Patrick Henry, who believed strongly in resistance. Alongside them were more cautious voices, like Joseph Galloway of Pennsylvania, who sought reconciliation with Britain while preserving colonial rights. So picture it, 56 delegates representing the colony's brightest minds and boldest voices sitting together in Carpenter's Hall. Each brought their own vision for the future, creating a dynamic mix of passion, strategy, and debate. And at the center of it all, the question of whether to fight or to negotiate. Let's talk about one of the most fascinating debates during the Congress, Joseph Galloway's Plan of Union. Galloway was a moderate, really hoping to strike a balance between colonial autonomy and allegiance to the crown. His plan proposed a union of the colonies with their own legislature, which would work alongside Britain's parliament to govern and resolve disputes. While there were some delegates who supported Galloway's compromise, others saw it as too little, too late. The plan was ultimately rejected by a single vote, an early sign that many colonies were leaning towards stronger measures of defiance rather than reconciliation. Hello, history friends. I am so excited to announce that we have partnered with Classical Learner. I am a historian, but more importantly, I am a homeschooling mother. Now, I get questions all the time from other homeschool parents and other parents concerned they might not be teaching their children enough social studies or civics or history. Classical Learner is a great way to help your child in all of those areas. Their children's book series, Cubs to Bears, will help your children understand things like what is the First Amendment? What is the Second Amendment? What is the Federal Reserve? They will teach your children things like critical thinking and health and nutrition. One thing that I'm really excited is they are also now rolling out historical works. Their first is George Washington by Ferdinand Schmidt that was originally published in 1911. Now this book tells the story of George Washington from his upbringing to his ambitions to his ascension as the father of a new nation. It provides a really unique insight into the grievances of the American colonists and the issues they had with England and the culture that made 1776 possible. This is part of classical learners' mission to take lost, unpolitically correct history and make it available to the public. And you can get 10% off of any of these products when you use the coupon code HistoricalUSA. You can visit the link down below in the description bar if you are interested in taking a look at some of their children's books and some of these great historical works. Now back to the video. But rejected plans didn't mean the Congress couldn't act decisively. On October 14th, 1774, the delegates adopted the Declaration and Resolves, also known as Declaration of Rights. This powerful document asserted the colony's right to life, liberty, and property, condemned the intolerable acts, and demanded their repeal. The Declaration wasn't just a list of complaints, it was a unified message to Britain that the colonies were not subjects to be trampled on. Instead, they were citizens with inherent rights, ready to defend them. And if words weren't enough, the Congress turned to action by forming the Continental Association. This was a bold agreement among the colonies to boycott British goods, cut off exports to Britain, and foster local American industries. The association proved the colonies' ability to work together in solidarity. It wasn't just about hurting Britain economically, it was about building a sense of shared purpose and identity that would lay the groundwork for revolution. But despite these bold measures, Congress wasn't entirely ready to sever ties with Britain. On October 26, they sent a petition to the king, respectfully urging George III to repeal the intolerable acts and begged to restore harmony. But the king's reply was not what the colonies had hoped for. He flatly rejected the petition, refusing to even acknowledge their grievances. And it is this rejection that marked a turning point, pushing many colonists to conclude that reconciliation with Britain was impossible. In contrast to the moderate petition to the king, the Congress also endorsed the Suffolk Resolves, a fiery set of declarations from Massachusetts. Its author was my man, Dr. Joseph Warren, and these resolves called for immediate resistance to the intolerable acts. It urged militias to prepare for action and to nullify British laws. These were entirely radical notions. The Suffolk Resolves were a clear signal that the colonists weren't just talking, they were preparing for revolution. And it's kind of incredible to think within the same Congress, you had conciliatory petitions and bold calls to arms. And it goes to show that the First Continental Congress really wasn't just a meeting. It was a crucible of ideas, debates, and decisions that set the colonies on the road to independence. From Galloway's Compromise to Warren's Suffolk Resolves, it was a space where different visions of America's future collided and converged. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this short episode. If you enjoyed my explanation of the First Continental Congress, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Historical USA. Until next time, I will see you in the next episode. Bye.